4. So my manager put me off onto another side project, and I basically built a cluster for the Studio 343 so they could get all their video rendering done in time. They said thank you by us having a surprise visit from Master Chief to a meeting I was at. So it was pretty wild to be in a meeting, and the next thing you know, Master Chief comes into the room and asks where Mark is, and I had like godlike status from my coworkers ever since. Some people were doing fist bumping with Master Chief, and it was pretty wild. And then the other pictures, Microsoft likes to have fun, especially in the Xbox team. And at our company meeting, we had a warthog parked outside, and they were doing photos with the warthog. So that was pretty cool as well. Which leads me on to Xbox being cool, my innovation example number 2. And I want to talk about the Xbox One virtualized operating system. An example is fast context switching. So this content, it's fine to show pictures. I went to the, even me as an engineer, I'm told to go to the Xbox website, go to Major Nelson, and those are the things that I can use to tell the story about Xbox One. I have to be careful about what I say. There's a really neat talk, and unfortunately, again, these lights, you can read it, or I'll read it to you. There's a really neat talk on the Xbox website. It talks about the architecture. This is a really fantastic example of innovation. So from the Xbox 360, the Xbox team that developed that, we really pushed the boundaries in terms of a game operating system, learning how to grab every little bit of performance out of the cores and memory and GPU that was available to us. I've done profiling of Xbox 360 titles, and to watch with my performance tooling how pegged the cores are, it's tremendous, and how efficient it is at being able to deliver and push the boundaries for that performance. So you've got experts in writing game operating systems. Well, what other things does Microsoft do? Well, Windows 8 is a fantastic experience for applications, right? You've got, the history with Office running there, the stability. You've got the new Windows 8 interface. You've got those WWAs, that sort of HTML5 and JavaScript. It's a really neat way of creating an application experience. So what they did was they took technology from Azure and Server and Tools Business, Hypervisor. So it's actually a 3-layered operating system. You have a hypervisor or a virtualization layer that then manages the application OS, which is the best of Windows, and it manages the new game OS, which is the best of what we have as evolved out of the Xbox 360, what we've learned from having those games. So today on your Xbox 360, you might have that experience where you could be playing a game, and then you want to switch contexts. So, you watch the machine go and take forever to get back to the home screen, and then you start up your next app, and it takes forever again to start up to your next thing, be it your web browser, another game. I won't say Netflix because I was disappointed when I tried to run Netflix being here in Australia. Amazon Instant Video, right? There's all different examples. But the way the Xbox 360 architecture works is that it's a one-at-a-time kind of machine. Whatever's running has all the resources, and it's very sequential. You can only do one thing at a time. Where with this virtualization layer, you're allowed to do fast context switching. So you can be running your game, you could suspend your game, pull up an app, and then you've checked something on the app, maybe it's Skype, maybe you want to Skype your friends, an incoming call, you close the call, boom, right away you're back into your game playing. Or you could be playing your game and a Skype call comes in, you start up Skype, you snap Skype to the side, and you're still playing your game while having a video conversation with somebody on Skype. So it's that kind of innovation where we've taken the best of breed from various business groups across the company to create something that delivers an exceptional living room experience. And that's what I'm really excited about being part of that Xbox One team. So I've covered most of the things that I wanted to cover in the technical portion and setting a bit of the stage. I'm going to get to these questions in a moment, but I've gone through and I've created some questions of my own. So I've been to talk with enough groups of students and people, and so I'm going to share with you some of the questions that I think I might have been asked. So my first question I have is, why did you do graduate degrees? do you think that this was a benefit as an engineer at Microsoft? I get asked this a lot. I mean, come on. They go, oh, Mark, you spent 7 years in school, and you know, I could just go right out of uni with a bachelor's degree and start right in as an engineer at a product team. Why did you do a graduate degree? What did it give to you? Well, the first question is, I was busy following my passions, and that was why I went and did the graduate degrees. But I think that I'm at an advantage compared to other engineers at Microsoft because I've had experience doing research, and I get put on assignments where we're bringing stuff over from Microsoft research. So it allows me to help to bridge that gap between research and development. I understand where a researcher might be coming from and their methodologies, but then having worked on a product team, I understand where the bar is and what needs to be done to have something ship. And it's not all engineers at Microsoft have that experience. Having a PhD or even a master's helps with that because you've pushed yourself beyond, you've done that research, you've sort of had that forward thinking, and instead of somebody just telling you what to do throughout your program.
We love bachelor's degrees too, though.
I'm not saying it, yes. It's a full range, but somebody asked me why I did a PhD or a master's, yes. The next question I get is, why are you working as a software development engineer in test? Isn't that a job for people that couldn't get a job as a developer? I've been asked this numerous times, and even colleagues ask me, why are you in test? So it's following your passion. For me, it doesn't matter one iota if I write code that gets in front of people. I'm not passionate about shipping code. I'm passionate about shipping products, but it doesn't have to be the bits that I write that ends up in front of a customer. For some people, that's their dream come true. They can go home and say, I wrote that. I did the sign-in box for this thing, that's mine, I owned it, right? That to them is what makes them exciting. For me, I like the creativity of being a tester and the independence that I get. So I'm at a stage now where my manager comes to me and says, Mark, here's a feature area, you own it. And that's all he tells me. I have to figure out who I need to talk to. I have to read the developer's code and see how it's been implemented, and then come up with a testing strategy that makes sense. I write lots of code because I like to see my family. If I were manually testing things, I'd never leave Microsoft. I want to go home and see my little girl. So I have to figure out ways to write tooling, write automation that does my job for me. For example, that's what's let me come on this trip. I've got 6 Xbox Ones underneath my desk, tethered to PCs, and they're running 140,000 tests on a weekly cycle, and I get emailed bug reports and failures. So I built the infrastructure that does that for testing the components I need to do. So it's really, again, following your passions and finding what you like to do. Being a software development engineer in test is not for someone that couldn't cut it as a dev. So what advice would you have for someone who has not yet completed their degree? I'm going to go back to finding your passions. Microsoft, if you were to if you came out from UNSW and all you did was just the CSE program, or all you did was just met the requirements for your degree, and that's all you did, that would be at a certain level. But if you thought about your passions and pushed yourself and figured out what things you like to do, be it play on a varsity team, be it in a computer club, an ACM programming team, or maybe you're a hobbyist hacker. Maybe you hacked the university, I don't know. I did that as a student, and it was